pray that you would give us each wisdom, give us an understanding of the right path to follow, and help us to do all things with an idea of being helpful to our constituents. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge allegiance.
Honor the second flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Be good.
I don't know. I'm from West Virginia.
You know, I never learned the Texas. I grew up in Texas and they didn't do that. growing up.
No comments from the public, it looks like. And are there any requests for relief, Jeannie? No. No. All right, next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do we have any questions on that or a motion to approve it?
Motion to approve it.
All right,
I just want to let you know that I have the proposed 2027 MCAD budget, and it's also on the Google Drive.
is that the same budget that Commissioners Court said they would not approve? Okay, and they won't approve it by about $200,000, right? Was that the?
Something like that.
All
I
right.
haven't listened to it all yet.
So you said you have it.
Mhm.
Okay. Oh, to hand out. Is that what that stack is there?
And it's on the Google Drive too.
Okay. Oh, that'd be interesting to look at. I've never
Yeah.
looked at the MCAD budget. All right. Thank you, Jeannie. All right. I remember we had a approved motion in a second. All in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Next is the SJRA Woodlands Division report, Mr. Meeks.
All right, so it's quick this evening, right, as typical. Just a reminder that the GRP tour, if you want to go see the surface water plant, that is going to be July 30th. Still time to let us know if you want to go. If you can't make it on that day and there's another day, just let us know and we'll accommodate you on any day. So that's all I have unless you have any questions.
I did have one, surprisingly. Page 22, bottom left. It's the water loss square.
Yes.
And it says dead end main line flush. And I was talking with someone about dead end main line flushes this week. Is that, you just have to do that at what kind of frequency to let water out?
Well, it's just interesting. You were having a conversation on dead end water main. But so TCEQ requires all dead end mains to be flushed monthly, unless you have something that's set up like, I know Woodlands Water, some of y'all's connections are on the end of the main, but TCEQ requirement says you have to flush each of them once a month.
Okay. And that involves a guy going out and opening it and holding it open for how long to get 13,000?
Give or take what the water looks like. Sometimes it's up to
Oh,
5
just
minutes,
go
sometimes
clean.
it's 10. When pull a chlorine residual, see if the chlorine's still good, and then we'll go from there.
That makes sense. Thanks.
What was our peak flow today?
You know, I did not check that. I've been here in and out, so I haven't checked to see, but usually if there's a violation, they tell me pretty quick, so I'm assuming no violation. But it is an assumption though.
I wondered about that because I looked at the rainfall distribution and treatment plant 1 shouldn't have gotten that bad of a rainfall. The big rainfall was up in Alden Bridge or near where I live, where we got about 6 inches up there. Down here, it was 2 to 2.5.
Mhm.
Yeah, our street was flooded.
Oh, tomorrow I'll let Eric know. I'll send him an email.
Question, it's not a Woodlands Division question, though. The TerraFab facility that's going in Grimes County, are y'all dialed into that?
Isn't that the SpaceX?
Yeah, Elon's deal. Have they talked to you? Supposed to be a huge consumer of water.
That's what I heard.
So I was reading about it this week. I'm just kind of curious if the whole data center, semiconductor movement coming to town and
I'm gonna, I haven't seen a map as to where it's located, but there's a old power plant lake up there called Gibbons Creek.
Yeah, that's where it says. That's where it's gonna be. They took over the plant, the TMPA plant.
So that's the logical place because there's already a reservoir there.
so the idea is that they won't need to consume groundwater, surface water.
Well, they'll probably go after groundwater. Some, and then whatever the reservoir can supply.
Is that kind of that half of Grimes County is part of the water, the River Authority watershed,
No.
yours? It's not?
We're more the the eastern side, if at all.
Did that, well, I guess you might not know this. I was wondering if it had anything to do with that solar farm that Rice had up in one of those creeks.
Now that is southern Grimes County, southeastern Grimes County, whereas the SpaceX deal would be up off of Highway 30, more northern Grimes County.
Okay.
There's a large 2,000 acre solar farm right there by it.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's just miles down the road from it.
But the Rice University one
Yeah,
is set.
by the name, though.
It's Waller County.
So far, we don't have to worry about it.
Not from SRA's point of view.
Okay.
All right, any more questions? Next is the Woodlands Division budget.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Haley Lawhon with the Sage Center River Authority. I'm in the accounting department there. I remembered for y'all. So in y'all's packet, starting on page 37, you have the changes to our budget, which is what we're bringing today. Everything highlighted in yellow is what changed from June to July so that you can easily follow those changes. The highlights are we removed the 1% rate increase. So the rates are back to current rates. So the water is $2.73 and wastewater is $5.65. The blended fee is still proposed to increase by 2 cents, and that is based on calculation because we're increasing our blend ratio to 55%. So on that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to go more into it. But if not, we are asking y'all to direct your trustee tonight to vote in the August meeting to approve our budget.
Brad, anything of interest in the trustee meeting?
It was just really that.
Just
Yeah.
keeping the rate
Keeping
the
the
same.
same, yeah, it was kind of a long story if you want to. It was really, we had a lot of questions and, they went back and looked at it again. They think they can keep it at the current rate. So, I asked Chris if, basically what did he recommend? And he said, let's make the change just to stick with it instead of increasing by 1%. So we all kind of agreed because he's got to do the work. So,
Make it happen.
Have y'all ever kept it same year over year?
We have. There's been multiple years. I think usually it goes about 3 years in a row, 2 to 3 years before there's an increase. Concern being is if you do not increase it, at some point that catches up. So instead of having 1% each year, at some point in time, you could have a 2 or 3% increase. So it's more of a sticker shock at that point. So.
Just to add to that, if anyone still has their June packet, there is a chart in there that shows our rate increases for the past 10 years. So you'll see it go, no changes really for 4 or 5 years, and then it goes up and then it goes back to being steady to Chris's point about we didn't have any. So the year that we had all the inflation and stuff, that it did go up that year.
yeah. And you guys felt pretty comfortable that it wasn't going to be a big step up, providing everything stays the way it's going to be for this year, the rest of this year.
Are you seeing prices on supplies, just cost of goods sold is pretty flat?
Generally it's still going up. The chemicals is the biggest thing we watch. Chlorine's still going up, sulfur dioxide is still going up. Labor repairs like pumps and motors, that's relatively flat. Capital items, generators and stuff, they're still up there high. So. Hasn't stabilized enough for me though.
All right, I'll make a motion to direct our trustee to approve the SJRA Woodlands Division budget.
I'll second that.
All right. Director Ray, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next is review and discuss the draft Bear Branch Dam budget and 10-year project plan. We had an extra handout on that.
You're going to get 3 presentations. Jamie's going to talk about the budget. Brett's going to talk about the 10-year project plan, and then I'm going to do a wrap up on the Bear Branch Dam modification project.
If you look at, starting on page 50 is the Bear Branch operating budget. And as you mentioned, I did hand out the breakdown of the contribution by MUD, and I'll reference that as I walk through the operating and the repair and replacement budget. So starting off for fiscal year 27, we are proposing a capital contribution from all 5 MUDs of $567,618. And that is for the operations and maintenance. The project going on that is for the dam replacement is a separate contribution that's in the repair and replacement fund. But mainly that increase from last year to this year, driving it is the fact that if you skip over to the next page, there's a cash sources uses. So last year we had started the year with $310,000 in our checking account to pay for these activities. And this year we're anticipating only having about $46,000. And so that's really the main driver behind the increased contribution.
Why was that less? Is cost went up?
So, no, it's just that we anticipate spending from now through August. We go through and we estimate our spend. And it looks like that we're going to be ending the year a little lower than we had last year. So last year, after we did the calculations, we just anticipated having a little bit extra. So that year-over-year balance does change depending on activities in the division. But
Labor expenses.
yeah, labor expenses,
Things
if
that
we
weren't
don't,
anticipated.
if we don't spend it, it stays in that fund and is used for the next year. And so this year just happens to be that we did use it. So, let's see, the main drivers of O&M expenses, there wasn't a lot of change if you look across in our O&M expenses. Just to point out a couple of things. Under engineering, the $60,000 for the FY27 budget is the volumetric survey that is included in the project plan. The only other project in the project plan is the dam project. That dam project is fully funded out of the repair and replacement with the grant funds going into the repair and replacement. So all the other projects would be funded out of your O&M. And that's the one for this year that's impacting fiscal year 27's budget. The other thing to point out is there was a $25,000 increase in channel desilting and desnagging. And Ed had mentioned earlier today that there was several inlets that they had went through, and the Lake Conroe's team goes out. They've surveyed, determined that there was work needed, and they're tackling those. And that's part of that increase is to tackle the rest of those. Y'all have any questions on the O&M portion before I move on to the R&R? Okay, so if you'll go ahead and flip over to the repair and replacement page. The capital contribution that we're including for fiscal year 27 is $1.5 million. Let me point out one thing before we move from O&M. MUD 47's portion of the 567,000 is $286,313. So
It's actually half.
Yeah.
you are at 50.44%.
50.44.
Yes, and that is based on the applicable connections in the drainage area.
Is that the same number that's been used in the past?
It is.
50?
For the last 20 years.
Yeah, it's been that for many years.
Yep.
Okay, so starting back again on the repair and replacement fund. $1.5 million is what we're proposing for the fiscal year 27 contribution. Y'all's portion of the $1.5 million is $756,619. On grant revenue, we anticipate receiving $858,000 in reimbursement from the Army Corps of Engineers on the grant funds that y'all have already acquired. And that is based on if we spend the $1,320,000 of project spend. We're estimating a cash carry forward from fiscal year 26 to 27 of $1,115,000. That includes any contributions y'all have made in the past years, as well as any grant funds that we have already been reimbursed. That leaves us with $2,153,949 to be carried forward into fiscal year 28 to fund the future years of the same project. So the only project being funded out of this is the dam replacement. So if you have any questions on the financial piece, if not, I can hand it over to Brett and he can talk about the project.
Evening. I'm Brett Rayleigh, SJ's Raw Water Enterprise Manager. That's Lake Conroe Bear Branch in our Highlands Division. I work for Ed. You should have a separate handout at your place for this discussion. We're just talk briefly about the 10-year project plan. We're going to primarily focus on 2 projects, but if you'll turn to the second page, just to give you an idea, the SJ's involvement in Bear Branch is through contractual agreement with the 5 MUDs. And it's for the operations and maintenance of what's referred to as the Bear Branch Reservoir System. And so what is the system? It's what you see in yellow on the screen and at your place, as well as a 12-acre site that's the red, which is the dam itself, and all the flowage ways. So you have from 1488 Panther Branch all the way down to south of Gosling. Then you have the Alden Branch that ties into Panther Branch. And then, of course, Bear Branch from the dam down to the confluence with Panther Branch. And it all terminates, as I said, just downstream of Gosling. So it's roughly 200 feet wide, most of the flowage ways. And so that's an area where we mow and bed trees and limbs and things like that. Of course, the detention reservoir itself and the dam, that's all part of the system. So if you'll flip over to the next page, it's just a general idea of how our projects are determined. Of course, we do regular staff inspections. You all have at your place a monthly maintenance report that we give you of things that have been found at the dam, whether it be graffiti or any sort of vandalism or things like that. We have the mandatory 5-year TCEQ dam engineering inspections. So I'm going to talk about the results of a couple of those here in a few moments. So that's another source can generate projects. Of course, our history on repairs and rehab, as well as surveys and studies and evaluations. And if you'll flip over, the next sheet is to just orient you as to, especially new directors, on the overall layout of the Bear Branch Dam spillway. So when we say Bear Branch Dam, the dam itself encompasses more than just what you're seeing on the page or on the screen. That's just the spillway. Of course, there's earthen embankment that extends to the left and the right beyond that. So we're referring to the spillway. So the spillway has an upstream element. It's called soil cement. It's just a hardening, a protection on the upstream face. Then you've got the service spillway, which is the primary spillway in the middle there. That's what engages first. And then if the water gets high enough in the reservoir, it engages the emergency spillway, which is all that other part of the concrete that you see. And so going back to the surveys and studies, in 2 successive TCEQ 5-year inspections, we had 2 different engineering firms suggest to us that the areas in red, the soil cement and the service spillway, needed attention. In fact, needed to be replaced. And so you've heard this before, but so we engaged a consultant engineer to give us an idea of what it would, preliminary engineering on replacing those, as was suggested by the 2 consulting firms. They came back with their preliminary engineering report and suggested, yeah, you need to do that, but guess what? You need to do the whole spillway, not just those 2 parts. And so if you'll remember, we had them come down. We had an all-mud meeting where directors were invited to come. Our consulting engineer gave a presentation to justify the reasoning for their suggestion that we need to do the whole spillway. So we had the original PER that, said, okay, you need to do the soil cement and the service spillway, and the supplemental PER, which you see where it shows the yellow to do the entire spillway. And if you turn the page, these costs that you see here is what was presented by the consultant at that all-mud meeting. This was for just doing the soil cement and the service spillway. And these were the very early conceptual level engineering opinion of probable construction costs. You can see it was a $14 million project. And there was, as I'll talk about in a moment, it was a combination of federal and local funds to pay for it. So following up on that, on the next page, overall, the project funding is via Army Corps of Engineer funding, some of which we already have a project partnership agreement for, and we've already received some funds for. That's the $3.6 million. We've been approved by Congress for another 5 million, but we have yet to sign on the dotted line for the project partnership agreement. It's hard to say that. Project partnership agreement for the 5 million. And then, of course, the remaining funds come from the MUDs themselves. And then just a reminder, and Ed will talk about this, on the Army Corps of Engineer funds, there's an administrative fee that they take off for their processing, their review of as we go through the project. If you'll go ahead and skip 2 pages ahead, the pages got a little bit shuffled in the packet. So if you'll go to the project status, of course, I'm just reiterating, but we had the initial preliminary engineering report that suggested the soil cement and service spillway. Then we had a technical memorandum that supported their opinion that no, you need to do the entire spillway. And so based on that, we engaged the consulting firm in a supplemental engineering under contract. And so they're currently performing that, and we're scheduled to have the draft of that later this week. And that draft will include a little bit of extra engineering that we did. I'll talk about that in a moment. So that's, as I said, it's full 10 years. If you go to page, I think 53 in your overall packet, you'll see the 10-year project plan itself. And you've got individual pages and a summary sheet for all the projects. As I said earlier, I'm just highlighting the dam modification project. And then if you go back those 2 sheets from where we were, you'll see the volumetric and sedimentation study. So in Texas, the larger reservoirs almost all do a periodic, usually it's every decade, they do a volumetric sedimentation study. And really the point is to see at what rate the reservoir is silting in. And usually it's more for planning purposes and your loss of, if you've lost any volume or things like that. But it's never been done at Bear Branch, but we've had a number of directors over the years that have inquired about it. So this year we contacted the Water Development Board. We got a level of effort to do it on this reservoir. And so we decided to go ahead and include it. It's for y'all's decision, but it's our recommendation to go ahead and have it. It'll give us a baseline. And then, if you follow the convention, then every 10 years you do it again. And as I say, it'll give you a chance to track, but it'll also give you an idea of the volume right now.
You're just talking about TCEQ coming,
This is Texas Water
oh,
Development.
TWDB,
Yeah.
just coming out to see how much silt's in there, to
Yes,
see if it needs
They
to be
do these
desilted.
bathymetric, volumetric sedimentation studies, and they've done them for us for.
And if they say it's filled with silt, then Mud 47 pays 50.44% to desilt it, right?
There's no action item that's a result of it. It's information for you. If the MUD directors decided they ever wanted to do something, that's a whole different story, but it's just information.
What would so if there's too much silt, then something triggers that you have to get it dredged?
No.
We would bring the message to you all that certain amount of silt has been identified and ask the question of, do you want it to remain or do you want it to be removed?
And that would just make it deeper. And that would help with our flood maybe with, no,
It's just stored water.
it's just. stored.
It's an important concept to understand. It's if you had a bucket and it was 3/4 filled with sand, you poured water in the rest of it, or maybe it was only 1/4 filled with sand, it's still going to flow over at the edge of the bucket, right? It's the same thing. So even if you're silted in, now if you had a dry lake, a
Different
more,
story.
a more excavated dry lake, well, then you can hold more water initially, but eventually the spill point is going to be the same.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because the water is held at that cross piece in the middle.
Yeah.
So it sits there. So
And so.
whatever's underneath that water level doesn't really matter.
Mhm.
As far as more running coming in, it's just gonna go right over. Now, if the water level was down below that, then theoretically you have a little bit, but
It'd help a little bit, but
that doesn't have anything to do with the siltation underneath the water.
And then the final page of what I have to present is the 10-year project plan budget. And you'll just see there that, and like Jamie was explaining, our anticipated expenditures through the end of this fiscal year. And then what we anticipate spending, just this is all at a conceptual level of engineering, but what we anticipate in 27, 28, 29, and then the years beyond that. And the 1.37 is basically engineering for this dam modification project. And it's going to go into in the volumetric study. And that's going to go into much more detail on the project plan, funding options, and the ramifications of that. Over on the right side, you'll see the combined estimated budgeted contributions from all 5 MUDs, as well as the estimated contribution from federal funds. And I'll take any questions before I turn it over to Ed.
Good. All right. Thanks.
Good evening. So you have 11 by 17 sheet in front of you. We're going to start talking about what's at the top left, the schedule. This is on the Bear Branch Dam modification project. Some of you all were at an all mud meeting back in July of 2025, August 2025, where we talked about the results of the studies that had been done, and that we needed to look at other options. And so consultant has looked at other options, as Brett has mentioned. They're wrapping up a hydraulic analysis currently, which we should get later this week. And that hydraulic analysis was based on a couple of scenarios that the consultant had offered. Was one had an offset low flow structure, offset of center line. And our concern was, if we built it that way, what impact would that have on the embankment of the Kirkendall Road Bridge? So we were also looking at, okay, if you move the low flow structure to the north side of center line, same thing, what kind of impact? So we're looking at north, south, or center. So we'll have that. We'll get a chance to look at the report. We'll run through some reviews and some modifications with the consultant in the next couple of weeks, with the idea that we would bring him in, the consultant in, and we would suggest an all mud meeting in either late August or September to talk about options, and what they have come up with is in the way of cost estimates. Now, for those of you, and I'm trying to remember exact date, well, since the election, we sent out an email on Bear Branch Dam saying, okay, here's what the latest cost estimates are. We mentioned 2 different numbers, and they're there towards the middle of the page, just below the middle of the page. Look under June 2026. There are 2 costs there, or estimated costs. One is 10.57 million, call it 10.6. And that was a labyrinth design with an offset of the low flow below to either left or right of center line. So the least expensive option, easier to build because there's less phases to go through in constructing the project, and also the care of water is easier to manage. How you're dealing with the water in the reservoir and then any stormwater that would come in during the time it takes to construct the project. The other cost of 15.7 is for more of placing that low flow section in the center line where the current auxiliary spillway is. And because it's in the center, it takes more care of water, more time to build, more phases to construct. So we looked at those 3 numbers. And then, you know, if you think about the 14 million, that's what's in the project plan today. So when you look at this 10-year project plan and the project sheet, we based the project based on the 14 million because the other 2 numbers we did not have and weren't ready to put that kind of number in the project plan. So one other thing about the project plan, that is what is, you know, it shows dollars based on what fiscal year's money will be spent. That's not based on when you all would need to put money on deposit with us. That is when we would basically cash flow. It's a cash flow schedule more for us than for you all. So let's talk about what the bottom 3 lines represent. You can see the different columns. Construction cost, or project cost estimate, the contributions that we've gotten from the feds and also from the MUDs. We've got a 8.6 million commitment from the feds. We have a participation agreement with the feds for 3.6. And we're working with the feds now for the remaining 5. Typically, they're taking 10% off of their contract for their internal project administration. If they were managing the project, they'd take 25%. So we're saving a little money by the feds not managing the project. So far, the MUDs have contributed 1.677 million. You can see what we've spent. That 850 is the project administration. So you can see the totals, 7.75 million from the feds, and from the MUDs, we're at 1.451 million because we've spent roughly $226,000 of your all's money towards these various studies that have occurred. We're still waiting on a $96,151 reimbursement or we've received a $96,151 reimbursement from the feds. We think there's more coming, but I didn't put it in here because it doesn't really change things. So you can see the third column from the right, the balance. So we think there's $7.6 million of federal money still available towards the construction of the project and construction and engineering towards the project. And keep in mind, the federal contribution is about 65%. When these agreements were initiated, their contribution was about 65%. Local match was 35%. Well, project has gotten more expensive. And right now that commitment is more like a 50-50 deal.
So when you say federal, that's the same as the Corps of Engineers,
Yes, ma'am.
is that right?
Yes.
You talked about the difference between these two is that the center line of water, it sounds safer from what you said, the center line of water being in the middle, but
Right.
that's more expensive.
Yes.
And it seems like the risk if going south and north of it is, geez, you could do something to the bridge.
Undermine the bridge.
Right.
Undermine the embankment of the pavement leading up to the bridge. And we
So
don't
they're
want to
gonna
do-
look into that and make
Yes.
sure we wouldn't undermine the bridge if we choose it
That's the
cheap.
purpose of the study that Schnabel is finishing up right now.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And so right now, we have not pursued any more federal funds. In the past, the congressman would ask in February of each year if we had any projects. And so the last one we applied for was Highlands related. But we did get this $5 million commitment. We have a new congressional representative coming in after January 1st. And so if he is interested in doing earmarks and he asks a question, obviously we'll submit a project. But so we would need to know if the MUDs are interested in trying to minimize their contribution even more.
We are.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you, Craig.
somehow or another, I was anticipating that.
I'm sure that's a big surprise.
We're asking that the MUDs, the 5 MUDs that are under contract with the River Authority for just operation and maintenance, put up 1.5 million going into FY27. You've heard Jamie talk about that. You've heard Brett talk a little bit about that. That would reduce the future funds that are needed for the project, depending on which project estimate we end up with. You can see in the far right-hand column, additional funds are needed. And as mentioned earlier, you all are at 50.44%. So if you look at the very bottom line, which is the most expensive project, you would be roughly $2.5 million of that number. One thing to refresh your memories is we have to have all of the local funds in our bank account at the time the project is advertised for bid. So that is June of 2028, which is kind of mid-cycle or a little past mid-cycle of your fiscal year for you. And so You would basically need to plan for an additional contribution, not this coming October, but next October. And so part of the goal of the memorandums that we've sent in 2025 and 2026 was to kind of state, here are some of the action items that still need to be done. There are some additional funding needs that need to occur. And the purpose of this, again, tonight is to reinforce that there is you need to decide what the FY27 contribution is, and then know that there's going to be an FY28. Now, if we're fortunate enough that the project comes in the $10 million range, and the 1.5 million is contributed this year, 218,000 could come back at the end of the project. But I would rather plan the more conservative route and have more money sitting there once we have a better idea of what the true cost estimate is going to be. Now, going back to that, because this was asked at the last month meeting, is when would we know what that more refined cost estimate number would be? And it's March or April of 2028. So it's still after when the budget would go into play.
Last summer, there were some other designs other than the Labyrinth design, right?
No,
There's only Labyrinth.
there was replacement as is. And then there was this other, the Labyrinth design, which was less expensive because it's less concrete. It's right now, the current structure is 400 feet wide. This would be like 125, 150 feet wide. So you would fill that gap with dirt. That was the other.
All Labyrinth.
Yeah.
Next question. When Schnabel is looking at this left or right of center, do they contact any other, let's say, state, like a TxDOT or a county commissioner that would look at that knows bridges?
No. This study that they're doing is only looking at how water flows.
So how will we know if you don't put it center, how will we know if it would destabilize that bridge?
Based on, extreme event coming over that dam, would we have to build something to direct the water around the embankment? Or would we have to go in and rip wrap the embankment with heavy rock and filter fabric to keep water from penetrating and saturating that slope and having it slough off? Very similar to what you've done the tour of the Lake Conroe Dam.
Yeah.
And on the water side, there is heavy riprap on there to minimize erosion. That would be an option.
But no state agency looks at the stability of the bridge or gets to veto if they don't like it.
Craig, I don't think so. And the reason I say that is they're going to leave it up to the design engineer to basically design something that would not endanger public health and safety. And that's why we're having them do the study, is because I had some concerns about it looking straight at that embankment.
The design is reviewed by the state.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dam safety people at TCEQ will look at it, but they're going to rely on the engineer's stamp, and they may comment.
Okay.
But they're also going to look at the various studies that get submitted with that design to justify the design.
You said this new design is going to be, I think, a quarter of the length of the current dams. So that'll look more attractive, right? If you're going up Kirkendall and down. I mean, to me, less concrete would
It's gonna
look different.
It's going to look different because you're used to seeing this wall of concrete and this V shape that the water goes through. And what you're going to see is what looks like a sawtooth, especially from the air. And then you're going to see some buttress walls that separate low flow from extreme flow.
Yeah.
And then you'll have earthen embankment outside the buttress walls.
Mhm.
The beauty of labyrinths is that if you have limited space, you can cram the same surface area of that the spillway now has in a wider platform into this platform, because every one of those zigzags has surface area that the water's flowing over that wall. So you can take something that's this wide and make it this wide.
Does it basically slow the water flow down?
No.
It doesn't. It keeps coming. But it's going through.
And Schnabel will design it so that the water release is no different than the way this dam functions today. You know,
That just
that's
doesn't need
the,
that big surface area to do it. I got it.
Exactly.
because invariably somebody's going to say, well, you made it smaller. It's going to back more water up on us, or you let more water out downstream. And I would be very surprised if we don't get sued. And we'd have to go prove it up.
Yeah.
Other question?
So we're definitely doing Labyrinth. It's just a question now of
Which,
which one. Okay.
Because all indications are it's less expensive than going back with the existing structure.
And the numbers on this sheet, which is the summation of what you've heard, you already have on your mud budget a line item for this every year, for O&M. And so on your budget, draft budget that you'll see from us next month, we'll include those two numbers in that line item so you can see what it looks like against your budget overall.
Draft budget for MUD 47.
Correct. Correct.
Great.
And so it'll be the 286 plus 756, those two numbers, you'll see that number in that line item on your budget. So you can see what it does to your reserves and all that.
Such a big deal for us. Any other questions on the dam? No.
We'll have the naval stuff by next month.
Hopefully we would have our comments back to them and they would have a response, and then we could have the meeting scheduled.
We'll let you know what's on month's meeting.
Yeah, that's meeting. Yeah, makes sense.
Okay.
Excitement.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the bond for the tier 1 water line. Are we ready for that one?
We're not. That's
gonna be
for the trustees.
And then the Bear Branch, Panther Branch drainage improvements, nothing new on.
Something
Is it?
something to report.
Okay, let's do that.
We heard from the Corps of Engineers. They reached out and asked if we were still committed to pursuing the gap funding program. I believe they're putting together their budget, which we learned earlier this year that they didn't have feasibility money that they needed to do that feasibility in this budget. So we did reconfirm that our interest in proceeding with that. So ideally, they put that feasibility funds in their budget so that they can get that done next year in their next year's budget. So we confirm that with them.
Okay. Item number 15 is our developed district status, and we're a developed district. Right on?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, a motion to approve the resolution confirming that we're still a developed district.
so moved then.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Well done. Engineers report.
I think we have a discussion from the engineers and
Oh, yeah.
developer.
I've got a developer item later in the game, so there's nothing new for current construction, current design, nothing like that.
Are you with Howard Hughes Corporation?
I'm with LJ. in addition.
Oh, LJA, what's your name?
Michael Kraftmeyer. Yeah, working on it
Michael?
now. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Terry is usually the person here, couldn't make tonight, so I'm just going in. I live close by and office right down the road, so very, very invested in the women's and all it has to offer. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, that was short. Are you ready, Dan?
I've got a PowerPoint presentation for you guys to take a look at. We're gonna be discussing the 80 acres of land to be developed on FM 1488. This is new information for some of you guys, so I'm gonna go a little bit into the history of what happened a couple of years ago when we signed a new development agreement with you guys. Go into the details on that a little bit, and We have a specific ask tonight that we're going to talk to you about and why we think it's a good idea, but it's going to be y'all's decision at the end of the day. So there's our general plan. The green area is MUD 47, including the dark green area and the pink area, because the green area and the pink area is the area that we're developing now. Okay. The dark green area is going to be a detention pond and open space. And the pink area is where there will actually be commercial activity of some type. Any questions about that? Okay, next slide. Going to focus in on the area specifically to be developed right now. Look at the left one first, because that shows the entire 80 acres. Okay. The parcels that you see there, 3S, 3T, 3U, and 3V are the commercial pads we're proposing. As of today, 3S, the one on the far right-hand side, has been developed. We have spent $633,000 there. They do have water service. They do have sanitary sewer service. They do have drainage facilities provided to them by the MUD. And the balance of the property is what I'm calling the phase 2 area. It has yet to be developed. Next slide. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is kind of a history of the Woodlands, really. The developer has been working with all of the MUD since the beginning of time and installing all the infrastructure and paying for all the infrastructure. And the way we get paid back is after the land is developed and AV is created, y'all collect taxes off those properties and y'all pay the developer back for his utilities over a period of time. And it's worked. Well, you know what we've built there. We built the best community in the whole world to live in.
And AV stands for assessed value. You
AV
always
stands
use
for
that.
assessed value. And y'all are how many billion strong now?
Oh, does Jeannie know?
Y'all have a huge AV.
It's huge.
But the assessed,
Big.
okay,
It's big.
huge.
I don't remember.
The assessed value on the Dudley Sports Complex that's currently on the ground right now is $10 million.
Okay. That's what you looked it up.
I did.
Good. That's a
Jeannie,
good, that's
Jeannie
a,
helped me maybe?
that's a good number because the entire area was supposed to be worth about 55 million. So
Wow.
that should come in pretty, it sounds like that's about right.
A fifth of it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I don't have anything to talk about here. This is how the world has operated in the Woodlands for years and years. Next slide. So I want to talk about our UDA highlights, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this one. Okay. So bear with me a little bit. The parties are us and y'all, the developer and the MUD. The scope was to provide utilities for the 80 acres to be developed. The agreement says that the developer cap on that will be $4,352,590. That was based on an engineer's estimate that was done a couple of years ago. It's a 5-year term, but it's retroactive. We signed it 2 years ago, but it was retroactive to when we first started working on the UDA, which was 2021. So the 5-year term ends in December 1st of this year, 26. But if we get the plans designed and if we get the plans approved, then we have time to build those facilities and you can pay us back sometime in the next 15 years, depending on how I perform regarding AV and other topics. Payment terms, going to get into that. The funding flow, we're paying for all the costs up front. The developer reimburses us from bonds that y'all have already sold. This isn't going to be a bond sale y'all are going to do. This is a bond sale y'all did 7 or 8 years ago. And in your package to the TCEQ, you said that these bonds are going to be for the development of this property, which is what you're doing. The backloaded triggers, after we put in all the utilities, you owe us a 50% payment. After we have our first certificate of occupancy, which we do, Dudley Sports has a certificate of occupancy, but we have to design and build all the utilities to serve all the 80 acres in order to get that first 50%. The second 50% comes to us after we've generated $25 million in assessed value in that 80 acre area. Any questions about that? I know it gets kind of complicated.
You have to design and build.
I
To get the
have to
first
design.
Oh, you don't have to
I have
build.
to get it approved. I'm working on getting funds to develop it, but we're going to talk about even then, even if I get the design approved, is it a prudent thing to do to build something if I don't know what I'm serving? Which is what we're going to talk about a whole lot more here in a little bit, and why we're coming to you with a specific ask tonight. What's,
Yeah, I'm sorry, can I interrupt real fast?
Please.
On that 5-year term, so the end, or December 1 of this year.
December
you-
14th?
No, of this year, December
This year, okay.
1st.
Yeah.
You have 15 years to
Yeah.
collect payment as long as AV reaches 25 million.
I will only be reimbursed in full if I create $25 million in AB on that 80-acre tract.
And that's
I
a
get the,
15,
yeah,
it's a 15-year from December 1 of this year.
of 2021,
Okay, so 50, so okay.
15 from 21.
Okay.
Okay. Things that have changed since our meeting in January of 24. Y'all have already sold the bonds. We've already talked about that. The phase one facilities have been constructed since that meeting. Dudley Sports is there. They're operating their facility. There is no current interest. I don't have any sales pending for the balance of the 80 acres today. And the district engineer has been hired by me to design the balance of the facilities to serve the balance of the 80 acres. Okay,
What's he gonna design, or she gonna design?
they are going to design the balance of the facilities to serve all the remaining land.
So for the utilities, not for any buildings or anything.
No, this is just water, sewer, and drainage. Next slide. This is a aerial of the area to be served. I'm going to show you one that's a little less cluttered than this. It's a little bit easier to see. But what I want you to see in this drawing is these lines, these heavy green lines and the blue lines and the orange lines extend to the perimeter of the entire area to be served. That's because I don't know how the parcels are going to be subdivided, and I don't know what the proper use is going to be at this time. So what my engineer has been tasked to design is something that will serve that property no matter what gets built there and how the parcels get subdivided. That's why he has to extend the storm sewer lines. See the big green lines going east and west? Those are the lines that have to be extended depending on some parcelization. They don't even know if it's going to be parcelized at this time. So he's designing the ultimate design to serve the entire area. The future of that area may be a bulk sale. It might be individual tenants. It might be a mixed use. Whatever happens, it's going to drive a different water, sewer, and drainage demand. Maybe a little, maybe a lot. I don't know. I don't know what land uses are going to be up there. But there's a possibility that we could spend less money, which would be good for the yard taxpayers and for us too, for that matter, if we can do that.
There are restrictions on what you can develop there, right? Some kind of deed, something new. You could have a chicken processing plant.
We wouldn't.
Okay.
But I don't think there's any restrictions on what the developer can do there.
There aren't any.
Not that I'm aware of. Have your covenant restrictions.
That's, yeah, covenant restrictions.
Covenant restrictions, but that only, and it's been platted, so covenants are probably in place. So it means no sexually oriented businesses and no, the stuff that Mr. Mitchell made sure would never come here.
What kind of oriented?
Sexually oriented.
Oh. I never hear that word.
So bulk sale,
We could take the balance of the land, the 60 acres left to be developed, sell it to one guy.
and then does that buyer he's gonna have a lift station and some pipe that he has no use for.
We would build a lift station.
Yeah.
Because you have to serve your property. But the storm sewers you see, which is a lot of your larger cost, if the detention pond is there's a good possibility he would have to build a lot of that storm sewer himself. Caveat, full disclosure. Do you see the green line on the west side of that picture that says 54-inch storm?
I can't even.
I'll point to it.
Is it in Del Webb right now?
It goes to Del Webb. This line right here.
Oh,
Okay. That line serves property in 1488 and north of 1488. That's land coming to your property, our property. that
And
we
water
can't,
coming
that
to our property,
drainage,
storm
storm
water.
sewer water is coming our way. We have to deal with it. Okay, so.
Does it go under 1488
It
or?
does. So we have to design something. Am I right? Yes, sir. Okay, so we have to do something to pick up that water.
And that water has to go between the homes and Delaware, or no, it turns it to the east before it goes into DW.
Funny you should ask, because it goes both ways. Some of it is designed to go right now, it continues to go into Del Webb. But once we develop our property and have our developed flows, we can't put our developed flows into Del Webb. So we have to intercept some of that water and run it around the side.
And that goes to your detention pond,
It goes to the detention pond that we will be building.
and if it goes to the left, where, who gets that water? Or it will go to the left.
Well, the storm sewer, the line that goes all the way to the west.
Yeah.
Drains back to the east. That way, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Because-
Accumulates.
And so the detention pond, though, is going to be in the lower part of that.
Right. Next slide, I think is going to help a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
This gives you an idea of where the ditch is that we're tying to. Okay. Also shows you little red lines that are going to be sanitary sewer lines and little blue lines, which are going to be water lines. And okay, so that's where the utilities are going to be constructed in the yellow area. Next slide. This shows where the detention pond dam will be on the bottom left side there. We're going to put a dam across the creek, and that's not enough to provide the detention that we need. So we're also going to have to excavate the detention shelves on either side of the existing channel. Okay, next slide. Is the fiscally responsible path to phase facilities to actual land use, or force an ultimate build out design before the parcel boundaries and the land use is known? Okay, we can go either way. It's going to be y'all's decision. Okay. If we build it all now, we're going to design water lines and storm sewer lines and detention ponds, assuming that it's a very, very densely packed commercial area. And so I make sure that we are serving whatever it is we decide to actually end up building there. You can also phase to demand. Once we know a little bit more about what we're doing up there, which may be a year from now, 2 years from now, it might be 5 years from now, when the market is right and when we sell, because y'all know we're pretty particular about who we sell to. And we want to make sure that whoever we sell to meets our standards for the community. So, and y'all help us do that by reimbursing us these utility costs. So we think it's a better idea to design your facilities after we know a little bit more about what the parcel sizes are going to be and what the land use is going to be. So that's going to be our requested path. The current UDA doesn't really anticipate that. It says you got 80 acres, you're going to develop it, you're going to get paid back this way, end of story. Next slide. Pros and cons. A lot of words, okay? Why don't I just give you guys a minute to just read? Y'all want me to start talking, or y'all want to read for a little bit?
Will we be able to access this electronically?
Yeah.
Okay. thanks.
Yeah. I'm going to share it with you.
Okay.
All right.
And the first con of requiring the UDA amendment or extension is we're gonna have to get Brian to look at the contract for us and your guys to look and, okay?
Yeah.
Delays development readiness. Facilities would not be in place for future development, extending pushes out to shovel-ready position that supports future landowners.
If we were to go ahead and build all the facilities right now, when a commercial buyer does come to us, whenever that might be, we could say, your lift station exists, your detention exists, your water line exists, your sewer line exists. A lot of times when we're developing, a case in point is the Sewell tract that just got sold in Mud 39. They bought that property and we had a post-closing obligation to build the water and sewer to serve them after they bought the property. And that's not uncommon because they're going to take about a year or two to develop and build their building. And that's more than enough time for us to catch up with the WS&D.
Yeah, sorry, did you say Sewell, the car dealer?
Yes.
They bought where?
On I-45 and Mud 39.
Okay.
WS&D you just mentioned?
Water, sewer, and drainage.
Oh, thanks. That's so cool. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, it forgoes the flexibility of built facilities.
Yeah.
Okay, constructing all facilities now, the highest price option would provide maximum flexibility to serve multiple future landowners immediately. But it's
So
not.
I've got to build larger pipes. I've got to extend pipes further,
You gotta
since I don't know where the property lines are.
I thought you might have a lot of pros, and you do. But
Oh, come on. This is what I'm pitching here. Let's be real. If we wait, if you guys consider deferring this deadline that we have to hit, we can design our infrastructure at a later date and it can be better sized. It might be the exact same size anyway. I don't know how this is going to be subdivided, but there's a possibility at least that the district may save some money because we can downsize some of the lines and downsize some of the runs. Don't know. It avoids the premature oversizing. We already talked about that. Here's one that you may want to talk to some other people in the room about, and that is if we build a lift station and the sanitary sewer line and the detention ponds and they go unutilized, somebody has to maintain them. The pumps have to be run. The oil has to be changed, whatever has to happen at a lift station, which I'm not an operator, but you guys are. Generally speaking, my experience when we had to do that elsewhere, it's never a good idea to leave a system dormant after you construct it. You like to get sewage flowing, you like to get water flowing. You know, you're going to have a long dead water line here that has no users on it. That's not necessarily that's typically not a good idea. Number 4, it defers your phase 1 payment trigger. If we go ahead and build the balance of these facilities, and I've got a certificate of occupation, then you'll owe us $2.15 million. And I don't have the other thing built. I don't have any AV offsetting that. So that's not a good thing. And then the last thing is it honors our commitment while preserving flexibility. Extension keeps the UDA obligation intact and keeps options open for future landowners as the market develops. So, next slide. We are asking that we extend the UDA for design and construction of the phase 2 facilities to match the land use when the property boundaries and the land use are better defined. 3 points. We think that's fiscally responsible for the district and for us. Extending honors the district's UDA commitment while matching the water, sewer, and drainage capacity to real demand, avoiding oversized higher cost infrastructure. It protects district dollars and defers risk. Phasing reduces near-term maintenance spend, avoids carrying a dormant lift station in the detention pond without receiving any offsetting taxable AV, and it delays the district's initial 50% payment. And finally, it preserves flexibility, and your downside on extending this, I think, is relatively low. We're asking for a 1-year extension with automatic 1-year extensions beyond that. I don't want to have to come before you guys every year and do this. But what we're asking for is a 1-year extension with automatic 1-year extensions until the phase 2 plans get approved. But on or before December 14th, 2036, because that's when we have to have it all complete by. So I know that was a lot of information. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to respond.
2036 deadline is the same one as in the current agreement.
Yes.
Okay.
Brian, the funds that we've got where we're running into problems at low priced bonds, is there a need for us to get rid of those funds to avoid payments back to the federal government?
So the payments for arbitrage are related to interest earned on the principal proceeds.
Okay.
So you're not paying the IRS the principal proceeds. You're just paying the interest on those principal proceeds.
So there's we don't need to get any funds off the books now that would warrant trying to have these guys build it out.
If you have, maybe a different discussion as we talked about or heard the costs on the Bear Branch Dam project, but there were also bond proceeds included in that issue that were for some potential future drainage channel projects. I think there's, according to the accounting report, there's 6 6.9 roughly million in your capital projects. And so that's about 2.5 more than the cost attributable to this project. So that other 2.5, could you potentially repurpose some of that if Eric doesn't have a drainage channel project in the short term that needs to use those funds? Would it potentially be a good idea to go to the TCEQ, because you have to go to the TCEQ to get a change in use, to be able to repurpose those funds toward the Bear Branch project? Yeah, that could be a really good idea. But you have additional funds that, may justify that without, impairing the project costs that are attributable to this deal.
Dan, I'm assuming since, this is your suggestion, you want to renegotiate the UDA, you guys are going to make the initial red lines and bring them to our attorney, right?
We can.
And then from there, that way you're not doing all the work,
Yeah.
right? And then from there, we'll look at it
Sure.
and make our red lines.
Sure. Curiosity, is the market soft? Why are you not getting interest?
I'm your engineer. I would love to opine on this, but I don't talk to brokers. I don't talk to people, that's not my end of the business. I can tell you from my experience here, it may explode tomorrow. The whole damn thing may be sold in the next 6 months. And then you wait for years and years and years and nothing happens. The stuff up on I-45 sat there for 25 years and didn't do anything. And all of a sudden, Sewell came in and did a deal with us. And now there's a parcel just south of them that's up in negotiations for additional stuff.
Okay.
I'd be remiss if I predicted anything.
Yeah, you talked about Howard Hughes standards. Yeah, I just wonder, is it price or is it standards?
Both. Well, you know that. We put you behind a forest preserve, and we put restrictions on all of our commercial buyers that no other commercial buyer has. We have forest preserves not only on your property, but adjacent to all your other neighbors' property, not just on I-45, but adjacent to your other neighbors' properties. Just how we do business.
Okay.
It's one of the things that kind of goes unseen, but it's kind of what makes the woodlands of woodlands. But nobody really, those are the little things that on the land planning side and on the deed restrictions for the specific site. Those trees that you see didn't get their by accident.
Yeah.
The old trees that are still there didn't get their by accident. Most of the developers don't go to that level of detail. They just nuke the site and plant some bushes. That's where it goes.
What would your timing be on getting back to us with your edits?
I can probably get something back within a week. But what I do need to know, and what I'm hoping you guys will think about, is if you're in favor of this, I'd like to be able to tell my engineer to proceed post haste so I can meet this deadline in December, which I can do. But if he doesn't need to meet that December deadline post haste, and we know we're potentially going to change the design, I'd like to have some assurance from you guys that we will negotiate in good faith to extend this deadline in some fashion.
We're reasonable people. We could probably come up with something that would benefit both of us.
Sure.
What do you think, Eric?
By waiting, it doesn't increase your cost, which is what I look at. You've sold the bonds, you're committed to reimbursing that 4-point-something million. So whether he builds it now or later, that doesn't change the number. Now, I think there's also some protections in it that is the cap. So by waiting, there's a possibility that prices go up, but you're not burdened with that.
Right.
They are. So I don't see from spending more money, I don't see that as a problem. And Dan has said it. If we design the facilities knowing what the end user is, there could be some benefits to not having to run it as far. Now, maybe that's offset by the timing and the inflation. You don't really know. Yeah. Or like you said, it could be the exact utilities that you need. You just don't know. You won't know until there's potential buyers that want to either buy pieces of it or buy the whole 60 that's left. and you just won't know. But from my standpoint, it's not gonna cost you any more to wait. And and what he talked about designing it now, let's say he designs it now, but doesn't build it. Well, what's gonna happen if it happens over a year later, he's gonna have to go and have it redesigned because those approvals are only good for 1 year. Now, it won't be a full redesign, but you have to resubmit it through the governing agencies to get it reapproved, which is a process. So that's another, I mean, are you gonna be burdened with that cost? No. But it will be just more cumbersome on the developer side of things. So again, I go back to the cost. This doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
To wait. That's probably my biggest factor, I would say.
So this is not for a vote. This is just, that you want to get a feel,
Well,
consensus.
Brian, help me out here, but I'd like to get some motion by the board that says we agree to extend the contract and we'll work through the details with you in the next month before the next meeting.
Way to do that. I mean, I think that, we need to see something from you first,
Okay.
from the red light contract.
Fine.
And we can't really move forward without that, right?
I'll
From my
have,
perspective, if I were the engineer in his shoes over there, in Micah's shoes, he's gonna need as much, if you just say, I don't know, and then you change your mind, and that takes a month or two, and his deadline is December. I would want all
I
the
can't,
time.
I can't stop.
I know if I was the design engineer, I would want to know that I need to start now, because now I know I only have 4 months to do it versus 3 months versus 2 months.
I
In order to
understand.
physically put those drawings together, so.
If he gets us something by next month, we can take obviously a better look at it, right?
I can have some to, your engineer, your attorney in less than a week.
Okay.
Because we're talking about something that's we're talking about changing the terms.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's a couple of paragraphs.
Sure, we're gonna want concessions and different things too. So, we're gonna have to see what you've got first and then move forward.
Yeah.
But I think, it's definitely doable.
So is there a motion required?
I don't think at this point we're gonna be just,
Too
requesting
premature.
that,
We need a
yeah,
motion to approve the contract. Is that when the motion would come?
correct,
Yes.
correct. So when it's presented and then board reviews it, if we deliberate in closed session, and then if there's, comment or revision, and then if Dan's able to approve whatever that is, if it's different from what was initially presented and that can be approved next month, then great.
Right.
And then we would take a motion on that.
At that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it should be, if all we're talking about is return, I mean, that's, doing a replacement of one paragraph, and that's not a big deal.
Not too complicated.
My comment, because there's a chance I might not be at the August meeting. I don't have any problem with it, Dan.
Okay, thanks.
So go for it.
Thank you very much. That's all I got, guys.
Thanks.
You bet.
Next is the attorney's report.
A friendly reminder, if anyone has not yet completed their cyber training and AI, reminder that the deadline is the end of next month. So. All right.
Do yours?
General managers report.
Shirley's got it.
General manager's report starts on page 75. As you can see on page 75 and 76, we have 203 open new and redevelopment projects across the Woodlands. That resulted in about 27 inspections for various projects. We have about 1,500 work orders that we went through last month, so a pretty busy month for us. Wanted to point out, we did have AWBD summer conference a couple of weeks ago. Thought that was pretty successful, and we had good showing by a number of directors. So I appreciate everybody's involvement there. On page 78, 79, you'll see some examples of some ditch related work that we're doing right now. So you can see kind of some pre and post pictures of some pipe, and some of that is yours there on page 78. On page 80, so you have the different pictures. Picture of some of our field crew as they're taking a training and look at our new chipper that was in the budget for this year and finally came in. And so they've been working in the ditches, but they're really excited to have this extra equipment to be able to assist in trimming and tree cutback. Also on that page is a picture of 14 of us that went through a OSHA 30-hour general industry training a few weeks ago. I got certified in that. So a lot of good training went through there. And that's part of an overall effort at Willis Water to start building our training and safety program, which we've been kind of working on since I've been here, and now we're starting to put it in motion. And as we get these new crews in, we see the need to focus on training. So we got training on the chipper. We actually sent some of our field guys to training on how to operate equipment. Have that mini excavator and the skid steer. So we actually sent them off last month to do actual equipment training on that. So we're really focusing on making sure that our crews know how to operate the facilities or the equipment and also stay safe while doing it.
Is that thing gonna be stored in the garage up there off of Bear Branch?
It is.
Here,
Yes.
that's too.
And it's sizable enough. It's really cool where we can actually, it's maneuverable where we can pull it with our UTV as well. It's not too massive that we are cumbersome. So it's a good unit and it'll do the job that we need it to do. On page 83, see some anniversaries with some staff members, Romero, the 5 of them, Romero being 33 years, Mary 26 years. So you see the trend there. Absolutely. So we have had some retirees over the last few years, and so we're constantly working through that. And Romero will likely retire in the next couple of years, but we'll work through that. Wanted to just a quick reminder that we will be bringing in the draft budget, mud budget for you in August. So you'll have August to review that, and then we'll look for approval in September on that. And we'll be working on that over the next, we've been working on that. I also wanted to, it's not on your agenda, we'll put a separate item next month, but I wanted to point out on the sanitary sewer rehabilitation project that we've been talking about all for the last year. We've had 6 previous pay estimates. We have a pay estimate number 7 for that in the amount of $244,663. And Mud 47's share of that was $11,400. So that project is basically complete. So I anticipate that we'll likely have a pay estimate number 8 and final next month. And I'll also put this one officially on your budgets or on your agenda next month, so you can read that. So I just want to point that out.
On page 81, you have sewer there, mud number 47. Does that mean storm sewer? It's an inflow protector that broke?
No,
What is that?
no, that was actually, and Ron actually pointed it out to us, that there was sewage overflow in front of the Burger King there on 1488. And we went out and investigated that night. It was after, I think, last month's meeting. And I called our field superintendent. And so our on-call guy went out there, and sure enough, we have in low-lying manholes across the woodlands for I&I purposes, inflow and infiltration, we have these inflow protectors, they're called. And basically there's plastic dish that when you pull the manhole lid off, you put this plastic dish in it. And so a regular manhole lid has 4 pick holes in it, where if it were inundated, water is just coming in those holes in the manhole and going in, stormwater going into your sanitary system. So you put these inflow protectors in, and then there is a small hole in the bottom of the dish, but it allows a lot less water to come into the system. So it minimizes I&I. Well, sometimes those things will unseat themselves, the pressure drop and go down into the manhole. And that's exactly what occurred. And when it dropped, it basically aligned itself with the pipe that's trying to get water.
Oh, so it packed everything up. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then the next manhole.
Did someone have to go down there and take it out and plug in the?
We did, yes. Yeah, we have to do things like that. Yep. And so we did that month.
Makes me appreciate your work. It's a lot.
That's what we do every day. Yeah, that type of thing. Yep.
So is that Burger King in the HEB parking lot that you're talking about? Okay,
That was right down there at the bottom of the hill. And then the next month, the one upstream of that, same thing happened.
wow. Well, I'm glad I asked. That was fascinating. Even the cup, I didn't know about that. That sounds really, yeah. Okay.
Interesting.
With that, I'll kick it to John for communications.
Good evening. Page 89 starts your communication report. Wanted to note that water quality reports are sent out electronically beginning of the month in June. They've also been pushed out through social media. They're on our website now, on the webpage and elsewhere. And then they will be mailed out here in the next week or so. We have an article here. You can QR that. It's in the Woodlands Community Magazine on historical there on Mitchell's regional vision for water infrastructure. So check that one out. That's that township publication. On the top of page 90, wanted to talk a little bit about the youth water education program. So I've been mentioning that the last few months. We just got the results back from analysis of our pilot program. So the pilot program is running through Tough Elementary with fifth graders in April and May. All the science teachers implemented it. And the reviews we got back from the teachers were fantastic. They enjoyed the program. All of them fully implemented it and had very complimentary things to say about it. The students pre and post test showed that they had significant knowledge gain on our local water system. And there was also this component where they would take water conservation kit home that consisted of a variety of water saving devices, faucet aerators, shower timers, irrigation gauge, filler for the toilet tank, and so on. So they implemented those with their parents. The parents were part of this. They reported back on their activities. They had a really high implementation rate. And that resulted in not only engaging the whole family in wise water use, but an average of about 8,000 gallons per year savings per household. So,
Nice.
yeah. So really encouraging return on that. The goal now is to make a few tweaks and then bring that forward. Ideally, we get funding squared away for all fifth graders in our jurisdiction in this coming school year. And a reminder, we are working jointly with the River Authority and the township on this program.
Put that on YouTube, blast it out to all the little kids. You know what I mean? That program.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So, like documented so that other kids can watch it.
and while there is a part of the program is students can make, not all of them do this, they can elect to make a video.
Yeah.
On this. And so on why water is precious or water saving practice. So with permission, we can leverage those. Love to see stuff like that. The kids make
Kids
good
like their
videos.
videos.
But lots of opportunities to spread the word beyond just the fifth grade, for sure. So I'll keep you tuned in on that. And just current messaging examples on the next couple pages and any questions.
I've seen a lot of news lately about our aquifers being taxed and just this new DFC. I'm personally on emails like that about our defined future conditions going up, like doubling. And I'm wondering, would it be smart for us to share information in our communications with residents about that issue so that they're informed and they can advocate for themselves? I was thinking along the lines of us sharing something like the surface water treatment plant came online in 2015, and it had a noticeable effect on subsidence in our aquifer drops. But now we're back at, using our aquifer a lot and what the impact of that is on homeowners. And if we could show a chart or something like all the stuff that we do on Facebook, maybe in November, when an issue comes up at the ballot box, just people are more informed. So I was thinking about adding something like that to our communications agenda. And if anyone else has said something similar, that'd be great. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a very important topic, and we have been messaging on it. We really hit that type of thing heavily in our first quarter of our strategic plan when to tell our story. Not just then, but that's when we really like to zero in on those types of things. In September, we'll be hosting the annual USGS our table report. So we make we push
That's
that out to the
usually only
community.
attended by mud directors, a few of them.
We get a lot of views on YouTube. So I will say that. We did get pretty good visitation of that last couple rounds. But that's very important, especially when folks are wondering why they're paying a surface water conversion. Why we have a defined irrigation schedule, why we have water conservation practices in general. That's a underlying critical in language. Yeah, agreed. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Great job, John.
All right, next is the trustees report. There's one in their packet, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to highlight anything?
I think the only thing I didn't see in there is Laura got appointed to a water loss committee.
Oh,
Yeah, it was in
John
there.
Taylor.
Yeah.
I fully remember seeing that.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited about solving it.
Our condolences.
Take a new fresh set of eyes to look at.
Yeah, so I'm looking at those things anew and it just, that small water loss chart, I'm surprised to see really it goes up and down. So it's not something where water loss is getting worse and worse. It goes up and down. So anyway, we'll find out more about that. And I have received my initial introductory email from our chair, John Thaler.
Who else is on that committee?
Joe Figueroa,
Oh, yeah.
the guy from
Joseph.
46, Joseph.
Joseph.
I'm always one to truncate names like Joe. It's, I think, Steve Briggs. So anyway, it's 4 of us, I think. Well, next on the agenda is closed session. Doesn't sound like we need to do that.
Did you have anything you want to say about?
Okay. And there's no one from the COG left, so I'll call us adjourned. How's that? Too unilateral? Do we need to make a motion? Thanks, guys.